Thank you very much. I thought twice whether we would keep today's date or not, but I felt that we should. And really and truly, as you see, we are committed to ensuring that even as we work to keep Barbados safe, that as I said yesterday, that we need to have safe work for safe people in a safe country. A large part of that is making sure that our civil works and construction can start back um, at rapid pace. Obviously, the country went into a shutdown. One of the things we opened back up on the 4th of May was construction, and we expect to see more going. Obviously, in this environment, it is important for us to move where people have projects and have financing. We've said to them, come forward to the government, because whether it is through construction of buildings or road works that have to be done, which we've identified funds for in our budget, or the water mains that I spoke about last night that we are looking to get $50 million to Water Authority to be able to move on a number of projects, or the digitization, for which many of the women will be more comfortable doing that at this stage because a lot of the civil works is heavy civil works, or the feed program in agriculture. There are multiple things that are going to have to be used to keep those Barbadians who have lost their jobs as a result of this pandemic occupied. And it's full steam ahead for us. So I'm happy to be here with the developers this evening. As you can see, they've stopped only because we're talking, but that tractor started to knock down some of the back of the building. I know that one of the questions will be what happens after the buildings are knocked down. I'm told that the buildings are two weeks of demolition, and then we move to the stage of what they call enabling works and foundation, and that should last for about another 8 weeks. That could have about 150 people on site during that 8-week period, and then I'm told that we then move to start to bring the buildings out, which should be about another 500 jobs. And of course that will go on for at least about 6 months until you start to ramp up, where when the buildings are coming up, you will then be able to move to the stage where those who are coming on between the buildings going up and starting the finishes and different types of MEP and all other kinds of works. And ultimately, a year from now, I would expect that there would probably be about 2,000 people on this site. But over the course of the next, from about 2-3 months from now, we should see at least 500 people on this site. That is without prejudice to other projects that we're doing. But at this point, this one was actually ready, and had we not had the curfew, we would have been doing this 6 weeks, 8 weeks ago. But such is life. Okay? With respect to the arrangements, I know you're going to ask what is the position. Most of the stuff that was in there, effectively all of it, not most, was moved out to another warehouse, and some are in containers. I think the AG can speak to the fact as to where we are with the arrangements with the owners. The developers own this site, and the government at the moment has acquired this site, which we will sell on to the developers as we've indicated. And the settlement, and let me say this, the government of Barbados is anxious to be able to settle and to pay for this building to the owners. That is how we do our business. But the records will show that over the course of many meetings over a 16-month period, that we were unable to reach an agreement that was in the interest of the public. And why? The land tax on this building for many years was $4.5 million, the land tax valuation. And the developer the owner objected to that valuation as being too high every year for many years. This government, out of an abundance of fairness, and look at this beach. We said that clearly, with the accretion that has come on this beach, that old land tax bill does not represent the value. And to that extent, we asked for commercial valuation to be done, because the boundary line, if you look at that fence there, is in line with that fence there, which means that she's almost doubled her square footage. Not quite, but almost. We then asked for commercial valuation, which came in at $8 million. And our offers were significantly higher than that. but nowhere near the 4 or 5 times multiples that we were being asked as a government to pay. Now, at the end of the day, we still have to be fair to the Barbadian people. We're not here as owners, we're here as trustees. We're here in a fiduciary position. And I would not know how to tell the Barbadian people that we would leave at this stage of our development when we need additional people working and producing in order for us to maintain our quality of life. The best beach, without fear of contradiction, in the entire Eastern and Southern Caribbean is this Carlisle Bay Beach. The Lord has blessed us with the accretion. For us to leave it now in bush for another few years would be a criminal act to the people of Barbados. And to that extent, all we have tried to do is to balance the interests of the owner with the interests of the country, ensure that they receive a fair value, and the government remains ready to close that and to pay that value whenever it is done. The AG will tell you that all that is required is for us to meet. If we can't agree, then he'll explain to you what is the process that is available to them under the law to apply to the court to have this matter settled. But what we can't do anymore is to put this country's development on pause simply because people can't get along or are not being reasonable as to how we reach an agreement. And a win-win agreement, I'd love all the time for everybody. So I'm ready, we're ready to resolve that part of it, but we have to be able to have this site be responsible for a couple thousand people eating in Barbados again in this country. And that's what this afternoon is about at this point in time. I don't know whether the developer wants to say anything, either the two developers, Mr. Edgell or Mr. Maloney. The Minister of Tourism is clearly here with me, and I'm sure that he too is happy with what is happening, and he may want to say something. And the AG on the ownership issues that I just referred to, where we stand ready to pay tomorrow if we can reach a sum that is fair to the people of Barbados, not to this government, to the people of Barbados, and fair also to the owners. But we need this site to provide the work for a couple thousand Bajans to be able to sleep easy at night and to eat. And that's what this is about. AG, you want to add to the process?
Well, just to recap a few important facts. We'd always begun the discussion with the Merchandani family to see if we could negotiate a purchase. We were operating in, I think, what were more than generous terms, given that we were embarking on a program. We had even offered to pay them as much as $10 million Barbados if they would give up possession of the site immediately, and then we would negotiate the difference. The Merchandani family had many opportunities to sit with us, to come to the table. We've had many meetings. Eventually, at the point where it became clear that we could not reach an arm's length transaction, the government then had to use its powers under the Land Acquisition Act to acquire. Throughout that process, we've remained prepared to pay a reasonable settlement, but the Merchandanis have asked for a figure well over 30 million Barbados dollars, and the Prime Minister has indicated that the land values really do not take us anywhere there. At this point, there is no offer on the table by the government save the offers that were made originally. Given that we are still at an impasse, it is now for the Merchandani family to follow the process under the legislation, and that is that they can apply to the High Court to have the value settled. And this is not something that's novel. Our Land Acquisition Act has been here for many years, and there are many matters, even pending now, where owners have sought recourse to the courts and asked the court to arrive at a value for the property in situations where we can't. But we're still willing to sit down with the family. We've offered as much as $12 million to the Merchandani family, and at every step of the way, it's been turned down. So we're not
going beyond that.
That is correct.
That is 3 times what the land tax valuation was. But we're not going to negotiate in public. So let us just move on.
Yes. That's where we are now.
Who owns the stock? And if it is owned by it is theirs?
If I can, Prime Minister, the stock is theirs. The Land Acquisition Act allows us to acquire the real estate, not the commodities in the building. That has been another contentious situation. We give the Merchandani family month after month after month, extension after extension, to be able to remove the stock. The stock is theirs. The government doesn't want it. We've made no claim for it. But because of their refusal to remove it, we were at an impasse. We had acquired a building. The property had vested in the Crown, but we couldn't take possession of it simply because the Merchandani family would not move out their merchandise. So we had to follow another legal process which allowed the court to give the government possession, and that was done. They had opportunities to move it out. Up to now, they still haven't. So we've had to take matters into our own hands. At every step of the way, we've made sure that the stock is secure, that it's kept safely, it is still their stock, and we would like very much for them to take it and to turn it into dollars and to get their business going again. But there is a point at which we have to say we will incur no more financial or other obligations in relation to your stock. They know it is their stock, and they really need to come and take possession of it. And we would love nothing more than to see the Merchandani family take their stock and do what they've done so well for the last 40 years.
Quick question, who was responsible for moving the stock somewhere it is right now?
The Ministry of Housing took charge of that. The Ministry of Housing took responsibility as the government's landlord or the government's property manager to identify, first of all, appropriate locations. Obviously, we want places that are safe, that are dry, that could usefully store the vast amount of material that they had here. Those locations were at every stage identified to the family, and then the Ministry of Housing took charge of the actual removal process, engaged the teams, paid for all the equipment and so on to actually move the stuff to its current location.
Okay, well, she has constantly complained that of missing stock, of damaged stock. Has she included that in her negotiation?
Well, no. I can only imagine going forward that those would be matters for negotiation as well. But we've never acted callously in relation to the property of the Merchandani family. When the moving process started and throughout, we took the precaution of videotaping the condition of the building, what was in there. Everything that was moved was inventoried, and therefore we are quite satisfied that we have discharged all of our obligations under the law in relation to her family business and in relation to the stock that's there.
How do you know that stock was missing if you haven't taken it?
What I would ask is,
I'm not sure.
why is it that this building did not appear to be a building of concern when Hyatt was first introduced to the public? It wasn't on charge.
You know better than that.
No,
Let me
but it
ask you.
wasn't
No,
on
but
charge.
let me ask you.
Then did it become a problem?
Because the original design of the Hyatt was only on the old police and depot sites, correct? The old Harbour Police and depot sites. This government, from the beginning in opposition and in government, said that we felt that the height of the building on those two lots alone would have been obsoleted, and that we felt that you needed to have a wider footprint. And when you get here, you only see it from the road on that side, but now that I show you how far back this land goes on the back, you begin to understand that the potential for a serious, credible development is completely there. Look, you're going from that corner there all the way back up, so that you now have an appropriate site to be able to have a serious hotel that doesn't look obsocky, that when you move the additional heights, you have space to give it context and to give it perspective. So that's all that's happened. And the truth is that what you were doing on this site on a beach could be done from anywhere else in the island. That's the principle. And the question that we must ask ourselves is, where is the greatest public purpose? Which one will give us the greatest number of jobs? Which one will lead to the greatest earning of foreign exchange? And as I said, you can't have this magnificent gift from God that this country has been blessed with. A country leverages its assets in order to create the kind of opportunities for people to earn from, to save from, to prosper from. And that's all this is about. And we would have much rather have a peaceful, and there were many other ways we can deal with it. So I pray, I'm a Jimmy Cliff girl. You understand? And as well as the AG was talking about what the law allows them, I pray that the two sides can meet again and that we can reach something that is fair to them, but equally fair to the taxpayers of Barbados. And a sum of $4.5 million as a land tax amount was rejected every single year by that family as being an excessive valuation. In other words, I'm not paying the taxes on this amount because the value that you've attributed to this piece of land is way too high. Now they knew and we knew that they also have the benefit of the accretion. And in fairness, I said go and get a new valuation and give them the benefit of the accretion. And that's when the valuation then came in at 8. Now, don't take a 6 for a 9. You understand? I mean, and I'm not, even if I, on a personal level, I'm willing to accept something, on behalf of the people and government of Barbados, I have a fiduciary duty and will not trifle with it.
Sir, you keep mentioning the taxpayers and public interest, and I think one of the things that the public would like to know, what assurance are we going to give them that when this project is completed, this building acquired, etc., that the beach will still belong to them.
Which part you want to go? Come on and walk.
No, there's
We
a
can
building
walk
up
through
here,
here.
Madam Prime Minister,
Hold on.
that a lot
Hold
of
on.
the public
Hold on. We
does
can
not
walk.
have access
Hold
to.
on.
There
The
is a
beach.
building in close
Listen,
proximity to
Maria,
this.
listen to yourself. Listen to yourself. You asked me about a beach and then you're telling me about a building. The last time I checked,
I mean beach.
the building belonged to our owner, but the beach belonged to the public.
Right.
So if you want me to sing Gabby's song, because a mic is in front of me does not mean that I've suddenly acquired the ability to be melodic and tuneful. So I will have to tell you that that beach belonged to we.
Good. That's what the public wants.
No, of course.
Just to support what the Prime Minister said, town planning
Come forward,
requirements. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
To support what the Prime Minister just said, the town planning requirements were a 30-meter setback from the high water mark, and we're doing a 40-meter setback. That fence that you see there is further out than where the buildings will be. So the beach that's there remains plus more. So we've actually done a 10-meter additional setback because we believe that that's the right thing to do based on the marine impact studies and other things that were taken into account.
But Mr. Maloney, also be kind enough to tell them for me because they might believe you more than me. What else I've required of you as conditions for this development?
Okay. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I might have misstepped in stepping in to comment, but I thought it was important. And this project has really been a labor of love for James and myself. We started off on this journey some 10 years ago. James just reminded me, I asked him if it was about 5 years ago. He just reminded me we bought our first parcel of land here 8 years ago. So, but time flies. We've been committed, steadfast, and very patient. And we do believe that all of the changes that were made from the inception, as the Prime Minister alluded to with the Hyatt centric that we were doing there, was a lovely project. We wanted to do it, and we think that this is even a lovelier project. It's bigger, it's better suited with the larger parcels of land. The Prime Minister pushed us to do what she thought was right when she was in opposition, and was determined that when she came to power that it be done, and that was the basis in which we set off to buy this additional parcel of land. So we bought this, which was MG Tucker. We purchased that and we own that, and then we went ahead and started to plan based on that. The planning requirements of us on this project are stringent. The planning obligations are, we have to invest money into a fund.
Urban Transformation Fund for the people of Bridgetown. They were seeded initially with what, how much? $2 million?
$2 million. It's $5 million in all. $2 million, and then during construction and operation, the additional $3 million. We have along this alley right here, we have to put vending. Vending stalls, although there would be a nicer name for it because we want to enhance the ability for what our local vendors now to be able to operate out of those stations or buildings or spaces, whatever they are.
Bay Street.
Bay Street Wheat, Bay Street Fish Market. The Prime Minister has all of the conditions, and she has those at hand, and I kind of know what they are, but I know.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page.
We
but I
are
think
on the
we
same
are.
page. There's
And then
significant.
the final thing would be the investment opportunity. You can speak.
Yeah, there's a 10% of the project is going to be, 20% of the project is going to be open for investment from the public, and we're working through the details of that now. A portion of that will be open during the process right now so that people can come in earlier for less, and then when the project is finished and the risk side of it is out of it, and the construction is up, then they'll come in for more at that stage. So all of the mechanics and details of that are being worked out right now. I think probably the big question and for us trying to keep things positive in Barbados is, you know, is this just a show that we're demolishing? No, we have right now in this project almost $20 million that James and my money in this project, no bank money, our money in this project, and we're committed. We're committed now more so than ever. The whole world has been through and is going to go through difficult periods and adversity, but we believe that there's more opportunity for us now. James and I were just talking. We're excited now more so than ever because there are not many projects like this in the Caribbean that are ready to go, and the ready-to-go projects are the projects that people are going to keep going with. Projects that are further back in the pipeline are going to be a little more difficult because people are putting their resources towards stabilizing their businesses, and then projects that haven't started are probably going to be a little more difficult. This is significant. It's significant for us, for Hyatt, and this will be ready at the perfect time. 2 years from now, we'll have an amazing project for Barbados that is, it's going to have all the technologies that are going to be available for treating to COVID. So all of those things. Up to this week, we were meeting with our mechanical and electrical team, and we were talking about all of the touchless systems and all of those things. So it's exciting for us too, because we're going to be the innovative ones that will be coming out of the box right away and being able to adapt to the change. And it's phenomenal. We're pushing full steam ahead. We're investing in all of the things that we need to on a daily basis, and we haven't stopped. And we're going to be demolishing the building as we started. In 2 weeks, hopefully it will be down, and we'll be starting the enabling works and foundations and significant employment. Again, we were talking earlier about the surrounding communities, and we're working with the neighbors in the community and seeing how we can help them in these times. And we're committed. We're committed not just to this, but to all the other projects that we're doing. And we believe that out of this period, there will be tremendous opportunities for all. So thank you.
This project is right in the heart of our heritage site. How would the two work together in terms of promoting Barbados and heritage and this, and would there be any conflict in terms of affecting the heritage site?
We've taken all the heritage, we've had to do a heritage impact assessment, and I believe that this is the only project ever in Barbados that's required to do that, speaking under correction. But the heritage aspect is important for us. We're going to be taking down all of the parts of that building that have a heritage significance, and we're going to be incorporating those into the design. The old police station wall is going to be taken down and incorporated into the design. It's going to be a significant part of the design is going to take into account all of the heritage aspects so that we're maintaining the heritage as best as we can.
And one final question from me, Madam Prime Minister.
Thank you.
Yes, with the COVID-19 impact on tourism, we don't know when that market is going to be up and running again. Do you think that construction will be the driving force now in the economy? And what assurances can you give developers that they're hesitant to move forward?
I think that, as I said, the world is going through a reset button. Tourism will stay. The extent to which we as a country rely on tourism alone has to change, but tourism will continue to be a mainstay of this country. Last night I did enough to start the beginning of a discussion as to the need for us to address our population concerns, and once you start to look at that, you're going to have to look at a whole range of of amenities as well. We believe that, however, we have to be patient and we have to make sure that Barbados is doing all that it can do to be safe and to make sure that the people who go to work in the hotel sector or the attraction sector are also safe. The people who will be visiting are also safe. And to that extent, you heard Mr. Maloney talk about things in the design of the hotel, such as contactless points and that kinds of things to make things open. And those things are going to be incorporated more and more as we go forward as a world in terms of how we treat to these things. But it won't be tourism alone. There are some people who probably are ready, and there are one or two, quite frankly, who will probably want to pause, largely because they want to see what happens in the next few months, or they are dependent on banks or other financial institutions that have said to them, let's just wait it out and see what happens in the next few weeks. So when we have projects that are ready to go, believe you me, we have to go. And when I say that the government has to assume a bigger role in the development of capital projects, it is because we recognize that now is the time to redo a lot of the roads that were not done for a decade. Now is the time to put in the water mains that need replacing because they were put down over 120 years ago. Now is the time for us to fix some of the buildings. Dale has some stuff up by him in St. Joseph and Bashaba. We have some schools that we all know are in bad need of repair, and now is the time for us to do it while children are not at school. And now is the time for us to take a few derelict buildings that government has. Instead of us, government has a rental bill of over $75 million a year. That's what we inherited. And we're trying to see how we can reduce that rental bill by being able to do some things. So this is where we are now.
Prime Minister, you talked about derelict buildings. The Empire Theatre is in this general area. What's happening?
I think you have to ask Mr. Maloney that. I think that Mr. Maloney, quite a few years ago, about 5 or 6 years ago, would have acquired the lease on the Empire Theatre.
That's correct. We've been working.
Come a bit closer, please.
Sure. We were refused permission for what we wanted to do at the Empire Theatre, which was originally to incorporate a craft brewery and some other things, and we changed up the design to turn it into a full operation theatre. We're a big part of Operation Triple Threat, and we believe in what Operation Triple Threat is doing for the youth of Barbados. I mean, some amazing things. So we would like to have it into a full operating theatre. You can see that we've cleaned it up. We're working on the redesign was submitted, and we're going through that process. And we are hoping that we can incorporate the construction of that along with what we're doing here and allow some benefit from that. So it is near and dear to us, and in fact Rock Hard Cement is going to be a significant investor in that. So we're hoping that we can get the roof on, and the building is going to be restored in the exact condition that it was in before, rather than do the extensions and so on. So it's in progress, and like anything else, we encountered some problems with the original concept and had to revert to restoring the building and then looking at how we could utilize the building, because space is quite limited there, but utilize the building and get the maximum seating in there, and we achieved just over 600 seats in the new design. So that is it. We will progress that in time.
What's it cost to come to and completion?
It's probably $15 million, and I can't give you a completion time yet. There are many aspects that we want. We want to try to see if we can get donors and so on as well, because it is not a money-making venture. It's a significant cost, and you don't get the return. So we're trying to see if we can work with donors that do similar projects around the world to help us as well.
So you're waiting on town planning permission?
Town plan is not holding us up, right? We've had feedback from EPD and so on some of the designs that we had for food, and we're working on that. So it's almost there. Town planning is not holding us up.
So what is the hold up?
There's no hold up other than to try to progress it with
This
the
is not very negative. You don't believe there's a whole lot.
Madam Prime Minister,
Yes.
my absolute final question.
Sorry.
And this is on another topic.
I know, but if it wasn't Maria, it wouldn't be you.
Yes, recently the talk of the town has been the appointment, the promotion of the assistant commissioner to deputy commissioner, making it 2 deputy commissioners. And I know the AG would have pulled back on that and would have spoken
I
to
don't
the
think he's
public.
pulled back on it at
Well-
all. So let me.
Well,
You
let's
know,
hear
I
from
was
you
on.
what's going
I was
on.
on sick leave, and that's the only reason I have not tried to deal with this matter. But it gives me great pleasure to deal with it now, because in February of this year, I signed an order, a statutory instrument. I think it was statutory instrument number 9 of 2020. It was subsequently laid in the House of Assembly on the 3rd of March and in the Senate on the 11th of March. That order legitimately established the second post of Deputy Commissioner of Police in Barbados. The fact is that Mr. Williams's appointment is therefore lawful. Let me start with that. The second point is this, that the Public Service Act under which I signed that order impliedly repeals the provision of the Police Act that calls for a Deputy Commissioner of Police. And if Senator Franklin really wanted to be accurate, he would have told the country that the section of the Civil Establishment Act that he was relying on has been repealed since 13 years ago, when the same Public Service Act was passed. So to begin with, he is on wrong footing because the section of the law that he referred to no longer existed in this country for over 13 years. First point. Secondly, I don't expect the country to get involved in what are legal doctrines. These two gentlemen are lawyers here, and others will tell you that there's a doctrine of implied repeal. And therefore, if I pass a piece of legislation that in any way conflicts or in any way is different, then the subsequent piece of legislation, so long as it is not constitutional, is what prevails. So that Mr. Williams's appointment is valid. It may not be tidy in terms of the fact that really and truly it isn't even Mr. Williams's appointment that causes us to have to go back and look at the Police Act. It is the fact that the Police Act refers to an act that was repealed since 2007. So that let us be clear on this, and let us also get to the meat of the matter. The truth is that the Commissioner of Police on the 7th of November of 2018 wrote the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs asking for an additional Deputy Commissioner of Police post to be created. So this has nothing to do with paying anybody off. Secondly, he wrote again in February, on the 26th of February of 2019, to ask for an Assistant Commissioner of Police post to be created. And he set out in both letters in November and in February 6 or 7 grounds as to why he needed an additional deputy and an additional Assistant Commissioner of Police. Now, what is even more startling than all of this is that the leader of the Democratic Labour Party ought to have turned to her right or her left or behind her, because I'm not sure to which one, where the General Secretary stands. But the General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party was the chairman of the Police Service Commission that interviewed in 2012 or 2013 I believe, both Mr. Williams and Mr. Boyce. They then proceeded to put Mr. Boyce to act for 5 years. Sorry. You know when Mr. Boyce was appointed? In the middle of the general election campaign. Mr. Boyce was appointed on the 1st of May 2018 by a Police Service Commission that was chaired by the General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party, as he now is. And then we are going to have people tell us about who is being appointed for improper reasons. But I go further. The same Police Service Commission put Mr. Oral Williams at the top of the list and said that should a need arise between now and the next 2 years, Mr. Williams should be appointed as Deputy Commissioner of Police without need for further interview. So that when Ms. DePisa asked about why was it not advertised, I suspect had she turned to her left or to her right or to behind her, she might have heard from the General Secretary of the Democratic Labour Party that they advertised for this in 2013, interviewed the men then, for whatever reason known to them, refused to appoint a deputy commissioner and put Mr. Boyce to act for 5 years, and only appointed him in the middle of an election campaign just before they lost the government. Let the public judge the facts as they are. And as for them calling for the resignation of the Attorney General, let me say, a resignation is reserved for people who take clients' money and don't return it. A resignation is reserved for people who carry away people's money. A resignation is reserved for people who act inappropriately. And I should stop here because I might get myself in trouble this afternoon. But have this to print. I have absolute confidence in the Attorney General of Barbados. And not only do I have confidence in him, but in the region has come to rely on Mr. Marshall on all regional matters, particularly since I have been chairman of CARICOM. And I understand that this is now the end of May and that there will soon be a need to submit forms as to who will run for president of the Democratic Labour Party. But I think that we can find other things other than this and people's suffering to mount a platform for election as president of the Democratic Labour Party. If there are former members who want to run against her, I wish her all the best. I really do. But do not seek to contort matters in circumstances when you should know better, that there were full advertisements, that there was a full determination that Mr. Williams should be the next person to be appointed. And you know what hurts me in this, and there's one other matter that I'm going to speak to now. What hurts me in this is that Mr. Williams is not political in any way. I've never known him to be. I can't say the same about Mr. Gyson Mills. I can't say the same about one or two others. And this continued attack on people who legitimately are trying to do their jobs is unfortunate. If you want to tackle a political person, come straight at the political person. I say that also with respect to the attack on the donors from the Sandy Lane Charitable Trust as well. Because these are persons who for the last 8 years, and I've had cause to say so in the past, this country owes a debt of gratitude to a number of charitable donations over the last 8 to 10 years. We would not know where we would be. Maria, you do a lot of work with social people and circumstances, and whether it is the trust that was built, no, the Barbados Children's Trust, the Sandy Lane Charitable Trust, the Maria Holder Memorial Trust. All of us can go around Barbados now and point out and show where they have spent serious money in being able to improve the quality of life of Barbadian children, of persons who are differently able, of persons who are mentally unstable. That was the last one I opened at the psychiatric hospital for the children, you remember? Then there was the one with the Nightingale home, then there's the Derek Smith home. And let me put it in context for you. Because I was in opposition. I was opposition leader when they opened the Derek Smith school in my constituency. I was not invited to speak. The then Prime Minister's name is on the building for opening it up. I didn't complain. I left it so because I understood that it wasn't about me or even my constituency. It was about those children and adults who are differently able, who would now get the benefit of a multi-million-dollar facility that they would not otherwise get. Now, as it relates to this donation from the Sandy Lane Charitable Trust, I want to thank them and to say that a grateful nation, because there are thousands of Barbadian families who are going to benefit. We didn't go to them, they came to us. And we thank them for not only in this particular instance, but all of the other donors who from the beginning of COVID have donated millions of dollars to help us buy equipment, to help the country do certain things, to some with the Adopt a Family program and some in this program. And why did they come to this? I assume because they understood and they said that the constituencies are the only community-based offices across the entire island. Now, it isn't political. If it was political, it wouldn't be known to the press. It wouldn't be a donation that's discussed in the public because others aren't. But what it is a desire to see, and these gentlemen here can tell you, that the accounting, and the leader of the opposition now can tell you as well, that the accounting that each of us must do for this is exceedingly rigid and transparent. And I would only say this, that, I learned as a child, and I've been reminded of it too many times in my life, that in life there are two words that you must never forget, and both begin with G: gratitude and gracefulness. On behalf of the people of Barbados, I want to thank those who, even as we go through this difficult pandemic, even as they themselves go through it, remember that there are others in deep need as a result of the level and scale of unemployment that has been foisted not on us alone, but on almost every country across the world that has been affected by the pandemic.